And we are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to race 2 of 7 of the Great Lakes Truck Series Chase for the Championship. We are here at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway, the Magic Mile, for the Dupont Handyman Services 170. My name is Jonathan Oates, and joining me tonight in the broadcast booth is Ross Brockman. Ross, it's our second race of the playoffs and our second mile race within the past couple of races. The New Hampshire Motor Speedway, obviously a very unique track, but a similar track shape in things that we've been to before. So, Ross, what are you looking at for tonight's race?
Well, I think you mentioned a mile race. You know, we recently were at Dover a few weeks ago, which is very different in the banking. Obviously, the 1 mile size is really the only thing that's probably similar, but I think you're going to still have some of the similar drivers contending for this one. And we have obviously we saw last week we had Christian Peterson had led a bunch of laps at Homestead, but then Madalinas was able to kind of sneak the win away in the last restart towards the end on strategy and secure his 4th win in a row. I think both of those drivers are going to be up there tonight. We also have the return of Nathan Jump, who's qualified on the pole, who I think is going to be really fast too. A lot of other drivers I think we could see up near the front and battling for this one tonight.
A lot of heavy hitters at the front of the field. Let's go ahead and take a look at your starting lineup. Like you just said, Ross, it is Nathan Jump, defending champion and a winner at Kansas earlier this season, starting on pole, and alongside him, sitting on 4 wins in a row and coming into this playoffs as the championship favorite, is Hunter Madalinas.
Row 2, you have the 56 of Matthew Weeks and the number 51 of Trent Curtis.
Row 3, Shane Neiswanger will start to the inside of Jared Duda.
Starting in 7th is the 71 of Christian Peterson, one of our championship contenders. Alongside of him is the 27 of Will Barbergelata.
Jared Darling starts to the inside of Daytona winner Terrell Baker in row 5.
Starting 11th, we have the 12 of Zach Henry, and the 37 of Elliot Henderson is to his right.
I do believe we're going green this time by, so we're going to let the rest of your starting lineup scroll across the bottom of your screen. Up front, Nathan Jump is going to do another pace lap. All right, good news. We got a little bit more time. Let's keep going. I never know when we're actually going green and when we're not. So I don't want to run the start, All right. Behind Terrell Baker in row number 5, Zach Henry starts to the inside of Elliot Henderson, and then behind them is Ashton Lawson to the inside of Matt Durr. Ross is going to pick us up with row 8.
Yeah, they have the 24 of Tony Manji and the 63 of Eric Kep. 17th is the 92 of Michael Senzi. 18th, the 5 of Brent Kincott.
Behind them, row 10, Gavin Fitzgerald will start to the inside of Hunter Riddle.
21st and 22nd, Aiden Dupont, Robin Durr. 23rd, Jackson Sims. 24, Jim Duda, Rod Fosna, Evan Snyder, Nicholas Kressel, Cody Miller, Spencer Owens, Preston Henry, and Blair Neabone are your 31 trucks starting tonight's race.
Pretty big field tonight. 31 trucks at this mile-long flat oval. It'll be your defending champion, Nathan Jump, leading us to green. Pace truck going to make that left turn onto pit road now. It's time to continue the fight for the championship. Madalinas alongside your pole sitter. We're green from New Hampshire. Well, it was a great jump by the 7 of Hunter Madalinas from second place. He'll take the lead on lap 1. I believe he even beat the 41 to the line, so if that wasn't an illegal restart, it was definitely on the border. But Hunter Madalinas wasting no time getting back to the front. He leads early at New Hampshire. Whoa, trouble back straightaway. Jared Darling spinning to the inside. He's going to save it and keep going.
Yeah, that was a nice save. I thought for sure he was hitting that inside guardrail down there, and you look back and see the tire marks for a nice save getting it through the grass and back on track. But yeah, you talked about Madalinas, great jump. Oh, we got a big wreck. Multiple trucks involved on the front stretch.
Looks to be about 6 cars piled in on the front straightaway. It started with the 26 of Ashton Lawson going sideways, and everybody else followed suit. New Hampshire off to a chaotic start as our first caution of the day comes out on lap 3 of 170. Lawson stuck in a very unfortunate spot just in the middle of the track there. Going to have to get it fired back around. The yellow flag is out for the first time tonight, and could that be an omen of things to come? New Hampshire races sort of like a short track, so we might see some beating and banging going on here. Let's go ahead and take a look at a replay of what happened to bring out your first caution of the night. It started just out of turn number 4 with the 26 of Lawson. You see him there, middle of your screen. Looks actually like Eric Kepf got a little bit sideways and then pinched around by the 24 of Manji. And then a lot of trucks just struggled to slow down for the crash.
Yeah, and you wonder how much damage some of these trucks have. But, New Hampshire's a wide racetrack, but even with that front stretch, having a wall on both sides, it does kind of feel like it narrows up and somewhat of a track blocker when you get a situation like this for some of these guys. And just kind of piling in, which is too bad. Unfortunate, but you get early laps and you're trying to get going, trying to get in the groove right away, and sometimes you got to make sure you're looking more than just 1 or 2 trucks ahead.
Yeah, these drivers were definitely antsy to get going. We're on board here with the 63 of Eric Kepf. You can't really see it there, but he got a little bit of contact from the 24 after he got loose in the first place. Spun around to the inside. Luckily, I think most of these drivers are going to escape without too much damage. New Hampshire is a fairly low-speed racetrack, so not a lot of impact going on there. We'll go on board with the 24 now. Doesn't look like there were a lot of playoff drivers involved in this wreck either, so that is good to see for your championship. And yeah, there's the contact. Around goes the 63.
Yeah, Manji just kind of had a run there, and there's nowhere really to go, and they're too wide like that. But you're hoping that one lane is going to take off, but he kind of was almost going in the middle there, which just unfortunately kind of collected all 3 of them, and then everybody else that piled in.
Yeah, you got to wonder if maybe Kep was a little bit slower off the corner than Manji expected and just got into him there. And really not some great avoidances going on behind them. A couple of drivers plowing into the wreck late. Brett Kingcott, Jim Duda among them. I believe we're on board with the 5 now. He didn't really have anywhere to go, and then you'll see the secondary contact there. Tertiary contact even pushes him into the 26.
Yeah, he might have probably the worst damage of them all there. But it looks like we had probably 12 cars that hit pit road. Some of them just maybe grabbing fuel, but a lot fixing damage, and most of them back on track. So yeah, like you mentioned, probably not any race-ending issues with this wreck, but maybe a little bit of damage work done, and it looks like nobody is losing any laps, so they're all gonna get back on track and join the pack here for the restart.
Yeah, definitely a chaotic start to this race, but most of your playoff contenders remain unaffected. You can recognize them by the blue spoiler on the back of their truck. All right, Hunter Madalinas, your championship leader, is going to lead us back to green. Trent Curtis is alongside him in his first start of the season, if I'm not mistaken, into the Geico restart zone, and we are back underway for the Magic Mile. Great restart by the 7. Look behind. The 27 of Will Barbagelata is on the inside of a 3-wide situation. Henderson in the middle. Nice Wonger on the outside. Your playoff contenders going 3 abreast, back down to 2 as they travel down the back straightaway. Up in front of them, Christian Peterson looking to make up some spots early. He started back in the 7th position. Right now is working his way around the 53 and the 8 of Terrell Baker.
Yeah, we saw some jumping out of line right away after the start-finish line. You got to make sure it's after the start-finish line, and I think everybody was, but trying to get these positions right away on the restart for some of these guys like Peterson and Henderson, trying to gain some of that track position. Tyrell Baker,
well, it can be hard to
slide off a little bit off the corner.
Yeah, the 8 got very sideways there. To your point, it can definitely be difficult to make passes here at New Hampshire, but some of these drivers making it look a little bit easier. Christian Peterson around the outside of Nathan Jump to take away 4th. Jump, after starting on pole, has fallen back to the outer edges of the top 5. Side by side for the lead, by the way, Trent Curtis is on the move. He's on the inside of Hunter Madalinas.
Yeah, he's done this a couple laps after the restart, kind of using the apron in 1. Which I really like. You can kind of pull up and get alongside somebody. It's really hard to exit. 3 and 4 are really high there, trying to get a run down. We'll see if he does the apron move into 1 again. It was kind of an interesting look. Now he's going to try the outside.
New Hampshire is a surprisingly multi-groove racetrack. I've noticed, especially recently on iRacing, especially later into the runs, you can really play around with your line. I mean, you're seeing Trent Curtis do it here already, and I think it's a little early, but that top lane is going to come in, and so is the apron. As different parts of the track heat up, you can really get creative with where on track you're running. So keep an eye out for that as we move forward in this race. We're working lap 11 now, and Trent Curtis, the rookie, is all over the back bumper of Hunter Madalinas. He'll go to the apron in one and try to complete the pass. Madalinas, though, hanging strong on the outside.
Yeah, this time did a lot better job staying there to the inside of the 7, which will give him a chance down here in 3 and 4. Going to use the apron there, and it looks like he's going to make the pass for the lead. We'll see Madalinas try to cross him over and jump to the inside off of 4, but no, he's going to give it to Curtis.
Curtis set it up nicely, fired it off into 3, and came away with the race lead. Moved the 51 truck up into P1.
Yeah,
and he's still looking for grip all over the place.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to go all the way up to the wall, but I mean, I'm not going to question it if he's leading, I guess. But yeah, it's interesting to see these different lanes. And you talked about it. Even you know, the most important part is using these multiple lanes when you're bunched up after a restart, because you know you can't go anywhere if you're gonna follow somebody. So trying to do some different lanes, especially if there's some stack ups, you know, some bad exits or on some of these corners, then you can maybe gain a couple positions. Is see Peterson all over weeks here, maybe trying to get up into that top 3 here.
New Hampshire is a track where it is crucial to be versatile and be creative. I mean, one of the things that really separates this track from others is that, especially late into a run, there's not always one correct line. It's not always enough to just have a perfect line memorized. You need to be adaptable. You need to be able to think on your feet. We're seeing that right now with Curtis at the front of the field, but also take a look at Christian Peterson. He's entering just a tad higher than Matthew Weeks, trying to get to his right rear quarter panel, and it's giving him a great run off the corner. Watch this drive of the 71 down the back straightaway as Curtis gets the wall out of turn 2. Here comes Hunter Madalinas on the inside for the race lead.
Yeah, looking to have maybe 2 side-by-side battles up here in the top 4. Madalinas just kind of running the probably more typical lane, and just barely clears Curtis for the lead. Gotta watch that, make sure you're clear. And Curtis is gonna just follow in as Weeks and Peterson are both there.
Gotta wonder if Curtis is maybe using up his stuff just a little bit, trying to get to the front. Meanwhile, Nathan Jump nearly got turned off the back bumper of Jared Duda behind. That's getting sketchy off turn number 2. Now here comes Christian Peterson up the inside of Matthew Weeks. He's gonna slot into that spot quite nicely. Push the 56 up the track a little bit, but that inside line not able to give him the run off. They'll stay side by side down to turn 1. Peterson fires it off in there again, and using that first seam is going to slide up in front of the 56 and move himself up in a 3rd.
Yeah, you kind of, at moments in the corner, you can kind of almost gas it up to try to clear somebody. It looks like maybe that was something that Peterson tried to do there to just get around Weeks, and Weeks kind of just gave it to him. As we see Curtis back on that apron, you know, apron or all the way up to the top, he's trying them all, which is pretty cool to see all these different lanes you see at this track.
You have a lot of options here. With the track as flat as New Hampshire, and with as many, I don't really know what the right word is, maybe tools that the track provides, and you're seeing it here with Jared Darling. There's a lot of ways to make speed around here. When I talk about tools, I'm talking about things like, you know, you have the different grip up in the high line with the black stuff above those 3 lines, or those bottom 3 lanes. You see Darling here using the apron, which has a little bit different grip. You have a lot of things to work with as you make your way around New Hampshire, and that leads to a lot of creativity. As we're watching Jared Darling work his way through the field as Trent Curtis is taking another swipe at the race lead.
Yeah, and you talked about Curtis maybe, you know, using up his stuff a little earlier, and then Madalinas got back by him. I think the other thing about this is, like, even if you can save some tire or potentially use up your tires, it doesn't drastically make a huge difference here, just because when you do go to pass, if you have a tire advantage, it takes forever to do it. You almost have to do multiple turns, multiple laps to make a pass. It's hard to do it all in one turn. So it's we see a lot of times people just kind of working somebody over and get some side-by-side battles that go on for multiple laps. So it's fun to see.
Well, sometimes it is better to just go for short run speed. I mean, the track is hard to pass as New Hampshire, sometimes it doesn't really make sense to give up any track position trying to save tires. That's maybe what Nathan Jump is doing right now. He's fallen out of the hinges of those top four as we look a little bit further in the field. Two battles side by side going on. We got Kepf versus Spencer Owens, and in front of him, Rod Fasnaugh is going at it with Michael Senzi. Oh, a little bit of contact into one as well. Fasnaugh bullies his way past the 92.
And then Senzi was able to jump back down to the inside, do the crossover. A lot of these trucks back here were involved in that first caution, and it all seemed to be running great, and no harm from that wreck other than maybe losing some track position. But yeah, some great battles, these side-by-side battles. Like I said, these are ones that take forever. You know, we saw Foss able to get around Senzi originally and then having to battle him back again.
Trent Curtis has taken back the race lead, but Madalinas is once again on his inside, trying to trade it back. So those two still going at it up front. Now you see Christian Peterson. He's been brought into the fight as well. Peterson, I think, is a guy to watch out for. He's, in my opinion, on outright pace, he has a little bit of an advantage over Madalinas based on what I've seen this season, but Madalinas seems to have much better abilities to close out on races and make moves that count. You're seeing it right here. Madalinas to the inside of Curtis for the race lead. He's trying to take it back.
Yeah, did a nice job off at 2 to get side by side, and then gonna drive it in here deep to get past the 51. Not clear yet. 51 trying to get back to the outside. He's going to.
Oh, contact! Yeah, you gotta imagine Madalinas isn't too pleased with the 51 of Curtis. I mean, Curtis has basically been a part-time driver this season, and Madalinas is out here racing for a championship, so any hindrance to that is probably annoying him just a little bit, maybe fairly so, but at the same time, you gotta consider Trent Curtis is out here racing for himself, in a series like the Great Lakes Truck Series when, there's teams and there's different things to race for. I mean, Curtis is out here auditioning. And Hunter Madalinas is out here racing for championships, though different agendas going on at the front of the field. Looks like Madalinas might have won out. He's starting to drive away from the 51.
Yeah, Curtis has been around, enough to know what goes on in these races and who he's racing around, and obviously knows the playoff system. And I think a lot of these drivers know that respecting playoff drivers is part of it. In these drivers, you want to give them space, but also racing them hard is the other side of it that we enjoy. So it's great to see these guys that are not in the playoff battle able to come out here and try to just go steal a win.
And there's a mental battle to it, too. I mean, if you're in the playoffs, there's a lot more pressure associated with that. But for drivers that aren't in it, as we see Cody Miller going down the inside of Shane Neiswanger, but for drivers that aren't in the playoffs, there's a lot less on their shoulders. They don't have to worry about points. They don't have to worry about not messing anything up. I mean, they can just kind of come out here and race as hard as they want. So I think that actually gives them a little bit of an edge in terms of not having that stress of racing for the championship on their shoulders. Neiswanger, he is a playoff driver, and he's trying to get back around the 20 of Miller. Trouble, Jared Darling sideways again. Second time this race, he's had a very impressive save. He'll lose a spot to Cody Miller, but he keeps the truck going straight. Meanwhile, up front, Hunter Madalinas is pulling away, but Christian Peterson is working his way down the inside of Trent Curtis.
He's going to make that...
Curtis to third, and Peterson moves up to second.
Going to make that pass pretty easy. And I think that's a huge key. If you're able to... Like I said, a lot of these passes, it takes multiple laps to get around somebody and set them up. And if you can make it quickly and then just kind of fall back in line, kind of save your stuff, I think that's a sign, as you said, that 71 is strong tonight. And that's a sign of a truck that's really fast. We'll see if he can do something with Madalinas here.
And now we get to see the championship battle, sort of a microcosm of it playing out. Madalinas and Peterson are your top two in points. Madalinas has quite a healthy gap, but with a lot of races to go in the playoffs, there's no reason Peterson can't close that back up. In fact, you can see on the bottom left of your screen there the points as they run. So Madalinas right now has about a 21-point advantage over Peterson, but that could flip as this race goes on. We still have a very long ways to go. 170 laps here at New Hampshire. That's nothing to scoff at, as here comes Peterson, giving a shot to the left rear of Madalinas. The race for the lead is on.
And you talked about Madalinas. He's gained some of that point gap. The way the playoffs work in the Great Lakes Truck Series, he got a 10-point bonus to start the playoffs. All other chase drivers were reset at 0. And so Peterson kind of being, potentially Madalenas' biggest competitor here. Started down 10 points already, and then Madalenas, of course, opens up the playoffs with a win last week. So yeah, it's a interesting battle. Oh, Peterson just trying to move him a little bit there, trying to get him up the hill to try to get by him.
These two know they're racing each other for more than just the lead of the race. They're side by side behind. Terrell Baker working his way. Oh, and the caution is out. Caution is out on the racetrack. And it looks like it might have been the 00 of Aiden Dupont.
And Aiden was running 29th, so he was back in the pack here, kind of see what happened.
Well, looks like it might have just been all on his own.
Yeah, self-spin for the 00, able to lock it down. We saw Jared Darling, do that slide off of both 2 and 4. And sometimes you can maybe save it, drive through the grass there. Aiden decided just to lock it down, and that brought out the yellow.
And going back live, the pits will be open this time by 30 laps on tires. I imagine you'd want to come down pit road this time by and get some freshies on. Ross, I'm not sure if you have any information on fuel window or maybe tire sets, which is what I'm really looking at here.
Yeah, I think, for fuel-wise, I think, we just saw that obviously we had that caution right away at the beginning, but that was a decent green flag run there. So I think, yeah, everybody's coming to get tires here. We're going to see them come down right here. But I think you could go another, 20 to 30 laps. Oh, it looks like maybe Nathan Jump is jumping literally to the outside of the pit wall. Is going to stay out maybe. But yeah, that's it'll be interesting because you could potentially go another 20 to 30 laps on fuel. But these drivers are going to be itching for tires, and we're going to see it right here.
Yeah, the majority of the field coming in, apart from Rod Fasnaugh and Nathan Jump. It'll be Madalenas into his box first. From this point, with a fuel run around 60 laps, you should be able to make it on, let me see, 3 more stops from here. Duda and Darling are the first 2 out. I believe they took 2 tires. Madalenas will follow suit with Peterson behind him. Matthew Weeks comes out in 5th. Well, Ross, we're 1 run down in the race. What are your main takeaways from that first run?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how, we talked about, those guys up near the front, Curtis and Madalenas were both racing really hard to try to keep the lead. They swapped it back and forth a couple times. So we'll see, obviously in that situation, using up their stuff a little bit, it's going to be awesome to see these guys that are staying out here, how well they're able to stay up there. This is one of those races that, you can't really pit, during green flag pit stops without losing a lap. So these guys are maybe hoping, they go 10, 15 laps and get another caution and then maybe pit, I'm thinking. But yeah, that's it'll be interesting to see that because we're going to have about, it looks like 4 of them up here for our original leaders to have to try to navigate through.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta say, I don't love the call, but, at the same time, I'm sure these guys know a little bit more than I do. For what it's worth, I do think Duda and Darling are out on 2 tires, because they did come into the pit, so they'll probably be a little bit slower. But at New Hampshire, 2 tires, honestly, it works more often than not, so it'll really just depend on what the conditions are looking like. As we are rolling now into turn number 3, getting ready for the second restart of the night. Nathan Jump is back up front for the first time since he started on pole. Despite that, he has not led a lap yet, so we'll see what he can do on this restart. Clouds forming over New Hampshire Motors Speedway. Track's going to be nice and cool with a lot of grip. Let's see what happens. We're back green at New Hampshire. It's not a good restart at all for Rod Fasnaugh on the outside. He's going to go to the high side and try and stay out of the way. Darling follows him. Madalenas, the seas really parted for that 7 truck. He's up to second as there's a big gaggle of trucks out of turn number 2. Peterson, Baker, Fasnaugh, 3 wide into turn number 3. Fasnaugh keeps falling back on the outside. Baker trying to take advantage on that low line. Out of turn number 4, Peterson going to shoot out of that battle with the advantage as Nathan Jump leads the first lap after the restart, but Madalenas is looking down the inside for that race lead.
Yeah, that inside lane on the restart was kind of the place to be, and it really worked out for Madalenas as he's going to get by. It really also helped.
And trouble, we got a spinner. Jared Duda sideways in front of the midfield. The 14 of Fitzgerald is also around. Baker spins as well. 3 trucks go sliding and spinning out of turn number 2, and that'll bring out our 3rd caution of the night.
I think these guys that stayed out that last caution there were probably hoping they'd go a little bit farther before before getting into an accident here with some of these guys in the back. But we'll have to see the replay, see what happened. Another one of those New Hampshire sliding off the corners, maybe. Maybe someone got some help. We'll see.
Yeah, it looks like it definitely started with the 53 of Duda, at least from what I could see, but I'm not really sure what happened from there, so we'll have to consult the replay. And yeah, 53 got sent around, looks like off the side of the 51. Baker spun as a result of that, and then I think Fitzgerald's incident might have been isolated.
Yeah, and we saw, obviously Peterson and Curtis, that top lane didn't really get going. And they were in kind of a hornet's nest there for two trucks that were leading earlier, middle of 3 wide for both of them at certain points there on that restart. And then we see Curtis kind of being the early part of that yellow, but not involved in the aftermath, of course. But yeah, it looks like Jared Duda on the 53 he definitely towed to pit lane. So going to be multiple laps down and out of this one tonight. But yeah, some of these others are going to come down pit road now and either work on some damage or maybe try to get off sequence.
Third caution of the night. So far, all of your playoff drivers have escaped without any harm. Madalinas and Weeks are your top 2. Peterson has been relegated down to 4th. Nathan Jump did a pretty good job on that restart holding on. He is still up in 3rd as we go on board with Gavin Fitzgerald. Hard to tell if there was any contact from behind, but there's no doubt that he did go spinning down towards the inside wall. Luckily, it doesn't look like there's any damage on that number 14.
Yeah, we saw from earlier, if you have minimal damage, you can still race your way up, no problem at a shorter track like New Hampshire here. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see now. We've kind of mixed up some of these drivers that did stay out. Now we're getting a few more coming down now that are going to have just a couple more laps of fuel. I think, if you got to lap 50 here, and maybe that's what Jump is thinking, you could potentially then, split this race up to maybe try to go 60 and 60 to get to the 170 mark where this race ends. So maybe that's kind of the magic number that Jump was hoping for here in another 12 to 15 laps. I think he's going to want to run a little farther than 50, so that way you don't have to worry about trying to save at all, but and also maybe hoping that you get a caution closer to that number. So we'll have to see if that for somebody like Jump, who's just kind of here to go for a win, I guess it's an interesting way to try to do something different.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have any points to lose, so he can race about as aggressively as he wants. Pace truck going to be in this time by. I do need to make one correction. Jackson Sims, playoff driver, has been involved in an incident. All the others have remained clean as we go back green from the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Madalena shoots out of a cannon on the restart. Baker ducks out of line for a moment, then swings back right behind. The land rush for turn 1 is on. Watch that 27 truck shooting up the middle behind the 12 and the 51. He'll make it out of that corner with 2 spots gained. Great move by Will Barbagelata.
Yeah, we saw Curtis use his apron line, his favorite line so far tonight, and it worked better for Barbagelata just to get around him there and get clear of him. I'm going to try to get around Jump now for 4th.
Yeah, Will's going for a little bit more down the inside of the 41 truck. Of course, that 41 on old tire is going to fall back, stack up in front of the 37 of Elliot Henderson. Henderson, he's a playoff driver. Right now, he is stuck in a hornet's nest of non-playoff drivers trying to spoil the party.
And you get some really fast trucks, too. These are guys that all can, potentially win tonight if things go their way. And, yeah, obviously, you come out of the restart, your time, this is your time to try to make some things happen. And you see that 41 truck and you know that he isn't pitted yet. You feel like I should be able to pass him right away, and that's what some of these guys are trying to do.
Henderson does get around the 44. He'll set his sights on the 51 now of Trent Curtis, as Christian Peterson has a battle on his hands. No, sorry, I was misreading that. He does not have Barbagelata too close to him yet, as Curtis is working on the inside of Zach Henry, trying to get around that 12 truck. He'll send a big dive down into turn number 1, gets the apron a little bit, sends it up to the middle of the track. He'll try and get it back down to the bottom, but you'll see that 12 truck just gets a big run off the high side with the wider radius.
Yeah, that apron line that Curtis is running occasionally in 1 and 2, it's doing a really good job of turning his truck, because at the middle of the corner, I kind of keep expecting him to. Oh, we got a yellow.
Caution's out. And it looks like it might have been towards the back of the pack. Yes, the 4 of Rod Fasnaugh into the outside wall. You see the tire marks leading up there as well. That'll bring out our 4th caution of the night.
And Rod was part of one of our earlier cautions. Has a little bit of damage here. We'll have to see what happened.
Great looking truck, but unfortunately it's been dinged up quite a bit tonight. We'll take a look at a replay of what took place. And it looks like contact from the 26th of Lawson is what sent him into the outside wall. Fasnaugh might have been a little bit checked up by the 93 of Evan Snyder, who looked to be a little bit slow in the middle of the corner.
Yeah, tough to kind of, we had that longer run earlier, and then all of a sudden now we've had this run of yellows. Kind of hoping, we had really, we had a couple of those drivers that did the 2-tire thing. Obviously jump. It gets to, like I said, it gets to a point where so many people are just trying to Lawson there, just trying to, overdrive to try to gain positions. And this is a track where you can't really just, drive through the field. You got to work your way through it. It takes some time because of the flat track here. So, hopefully these drivers, think about taking her easy and getting into a long run, because that's probably your best way to gain track position.
It was an interesting incident because you could definitely see it from both sides. It looked almost like the 4 of Fasnaugh kind of entered the corner as if he was going to drift up the track and then cut down halfway through his entry to run along that first seam. So I'm not sure if Lawson was really expecting him to run as low and as slow as he did. But I could definitely see it from the other side where Lawson was maybe diving in a little harder than he needed to, especially for being around the midfield. So quite a interesting little kerfuffle there into turn number 3.
And to your point, it wasn't much talk on the radio really about what had happened or anything, but just listening in on that. So obviously, not saying that they don't disagree with each other, but they didn't let their feelings be too much heard if there was any disagreement. So maybe just a racing deal, to your point.
It's pretty early in the race. You don't want to be up in arms about anything just yet. You got to give it a little bit of time before you get really mad.
Yeah, and it looks like Ashton, we saw him in that incident there. He's still on pit road working on some damage, it looks like. We'll see if he tries to stay on the lead lap here. But, nobody else really, pitting for more than maybe just fixing damage. But we had, Aiden Dupont was part of that the previous caution. Obviously, Rod Fasnaugh on this caution coming down, pitting on lap 43. Like I said, maybe lap 50 would be your opening, potentially to make it a one-stop race from there. But I think still here, lap 43, 44, and now 46, it's still a little early for that. So I think no strategies opening up yet, but we'll have to see if we get another yellow here quick.
I'd say just around 50 is probably the earliest you could pit to make it on 2 more stops. And you'll notice the skies above New Hampshire looking quite gray and cloudy. That's because it is quite the overcast day. We are looking at a 68-degree Fahrenheit air temperature and only a 79 Fahrenheit track temp. So it's a cool day here. There's a lot of grip in this track, and that might be enticing drivers to be a little bit more aggressive than they would otherwise. The pace car is going to file onto pit road this time by and leave the field in the hands of the dominant Hunter Madalinas with Matthew Weeks alongside. Pace truck is in. Here we go again, working lap 47 of 170 at the Magic Mile, and we are back green.
Madalinas with another great restart. It's really easy to kind of get a little discrepancy in the lines as far as getting into the restart zone, and Madalinas already had like a car length on Weeks before they hit the gas, so it that really stacked up that bottom lane and going to give Barber Gelata his best track position of the night. Going to slide up to second here.
There was a little bit of contact as those two went down the back straightaway. Barb's got into the side of the 56 and unsettled Weeks just a little bit. He's been falling back ever since. Here comes Christian Peterson down the inside of Matthew Weeks. Weeks is maybe one of the dark horse contenders for this championship. He is third in points coming into this race, but right now he doesn't quite look like he has the short run speed to keep up with Manalinas.
Yeah, and you gotta, if you're Weeks, you know, the best thing you can do with Madalinas and Peterson being your, you know, the two trucks in front of you, you gotta run with them. So that's exactly what he's doing so far tonight, and yeah, sticking up in this top 5.
Can also be a really good opportunity to learn as Trent Curtis out of nowhere sends one down the inside of Matthew Weeks, and that'll take him all the way up into 4th place. So how about Trent Curtis? He has this restart as a good opportunity to flex that short run speed, and he is once again out there getting after it.
I really am liking that apron move that he keeps pulling, because it definitely like almost kind of sets up the truck to get it to turn, and it's working. And he's able now, you know, he jumps up to the outside here to kind of get a run. It's interesting to see. He definitely found something there that I like. I think it's an awesome lane that you know, right there he was able to make a pass pretty easy.
He's really taking advantage of how the truck can be unsettled by different seams and banking discrepancies to try and get a little bit more turn out of that thing. The problem is that by doing that, he's really heating up his tires, and I think that's why we saw him fall back towards the end of that first run. But the advantage is that it shortcuts the track on entry, so making a pass like Peterson is trying to do right now actually gets a lot easier. Side by side for second, Peterson and Will Barbagelata going at it. A little bit of contact off too. Peterson going to fire off into turn number 3. He still has Barbagelata on his right rear, but he'll clear him now. So move Peterson up into second. Your top 2 in the chase, once again running 1-2.
In a report there from producer Jeff, he sent a note saying, you know, there's a little bit of shifting going on, especially that 51 and Curtis. You can kind of do that here, where if you drive it in deep and kind of slow the truck down far enough, then, you know, grab a gear. He's going to go to the inside of Barbagelata, use that apron. And I think that shift can sometimes even help turn your truck too.
Yeah, shifting is, honestly, at New Hampshire, I think I like it. I mean, it's a little bit more torque you can get out of your truck. Keep it in the power band as you come out of the corners. It's, if you're okay at multitasking, it's not a bad move at all. I think some people think it'll heat up your rear tires a little bit more, and if you misuse it, that's true. But honestly, a well-timed shift and careful power application, you're actually not wearing your rear tires much more than you would by just staying in 4th. So I like the move out of Trent Curtis. We'll see how far he can take it.
Yeah, it's one of those things you can almost use it as a push to pass, I guess, if you use it the right way. As far as, you know, maybe not using it every lap, but using it in situations when you know that you need to, you know, get everything off of these corners. You see these guys slide around off of turn 2 here.
Yeah, they're sliding a surprising amount for how much grip is in the track. Really shows you just how much these guys are pushing. Now everyone seems to be kind of filing into the same line with a couple of exceptions. You see Baker there running the apron, but I think as these tires start to wear, that's when you'll see guys start to move around a little bit. But at the start of these runs, you want to be in that middle lane.
Yeah, we'll see as we go back in the field a little bit, but these yeah, front runners are all kind of single filed out. Curtis is going to try to do something with Peterson here, it looks like, and yeah, hungry to get back up there and try to battle for this lead again.
Yeah, Trent Curtis definitely taking advantage of his short run speed. He's really able to drive it a lot harder than a lot of these other trucks are. Lap 56 of 170 underway. You get the feeling the drivers are starting to kind of settle into their rhythm, as the majority of the field is single file. Matthew Weeks has fallen back into 7th place. He has been struggling a little bit after the restart. Wonder if maybe he's saving tires or if maybe he's struggling just a little bit.
Oh, we have the 00 of Aiden Dupont. Another slide off of turn 2, this time able to keep it rolling. So no yellow.
We do stay green, but goes to show the handling difficulties at this track. New Hampshire it's quite difficult to get around. You know, these corners are almost deceptively slow with how much speed you're allowed to carry through them.
Yeah, and you mentioned Weeks, you know, kind of backing up a little bit. And I don't know, maybe you think, like, you know, the idea of saving your stuff if you're going to run this as long as possible. As Baker uses the apron on the exit there. Peterson's now catching up to Madalena's. Going to maybe have a battle for the lead here.
Top two in the championship are going at it once again. Christian Peterson trying to prove himself as the championship favorite. Hunter Madalenas trying to defend his points lead. Madalenas, like you mentioned in the pre-race, is currently sitting on 4 wins in a row without any sign of slowing down soon. He has been dominant these past couple of weeks of Great Lakes Truck Series competition.
And I think that's something that, from the years of racing in this series with Madalenas, that's something that's probably part of the thought tonight. As much as the championship is something that he's obviously want to think about, and he talked so much about that with us in a lot of these races post-race, getting the momentum and setting himself up for this playoff run. But I think the fact that 5 in a row, I think it's a bigger story if he doesn't win a race lately. So he just wants to make sure that doesn't happen. So I think it'd be interesting to see how he will drive potentially to try to win tonight.
Yeah, it's really been interesting talking to Madalenas the past couple of weeks because we've gotten a really good insight into who he is as a driver. And the main thing that he seems to emphasize week in and week out is practice and consistency. When we ask him about a changing racetrack or how lines evolve, he doesn't want any part of that. Madalenas takes the same line every time. He's consistent, he'll practice, he'll get a line down, and he will run that line until the end of the race. We're seeing it right now as he leads the field. Wide in, keep it narrow through the center, drive out on that bottom seam. He has been glued to that line since the drop of the green flag, and practice comes into this as well. He's a very disciplined driver. He will test during the week to make sure he can get the most out of his truck come race day, and because of that, he has positioned himself as possibly the championship favorite. It's still, for me, a little hard to tell between himself and Peterson, but with 4 wins in a row, it's hard to argue against that number 7 truck.
Well, and he talked about, momentum too when he started that 4-race run here, and it, that was important to him going into the playoffs, and obviously it's worked so far, and able to utilize that consistency you talked about, but with also a little bit of momentum. We're feeling a little bit unstoppable. It's just going to see if Peterson or somebody else is able to finally end that run.
Quite a variety of tracks as well. North Wilkesboro, if I'm getting this right, North Wilkesboro, Dover, Darlington, Homestead last week. Those are 4 very different racetracks, but they're all challenging in their own ways, and he's won at all of them. So, versatility, resilience, that's what Madalenas has going for him. Baker now works his way down the inside of Matthew Weeks, and with a big fire off into turn number 3, I believe Baker is going to lock up that spot for himself. Behind them, Nathan Jump is working the inside of Cody Miller. Unsure if Jump has pitted since he stayed out earlier in the race, but he right now is back in the, I can't find him right now. Where is that 41 truck?
Running 14th, just got passed for 13th. And he hasn't pitted yet. I'm thinking he's going to be pitting soon here. Getting really close to, obviously had a couple of those cautions, so that 60-lap run, he's, on the original set of tires yet.
Robin Durr a little sideways there out of turn number 2 towards the back of the field. Evan Snyder and the 64 truck going to take advantage. That's Blair Neabone in the 64. Snyder in that bright green 93 also taking advantage. He'll slide down the inside, and he will take that spot away out of turn number 4. Maybe not. Durr fights back on the high side. Side by side into turn 1. This battle for 25th.
Yeah, and some of those drivers in the back there, they're racing just as hard as these guys in the front. You get some of those guys that are race around each other all the time, which is it's fun to see those rivalries a little bit happen back there. We got Henderson and Weeks. Weeks continues to just kind of slowly fall backwards here, and it'll be interesting to see if that's just something that maybe New Hampshire, he was just able to get some track position early and it's just not his thing, or is he trying to save something here for a long run? It'll be fun to see if we're able to run this thing out, where that puts
Terrell
him
Baker
later in the run.
Terrell Baker has a very interesting line going on right now. I don't know if you're seeing this, but he kind of enters the corner up on the high line, checks up hard in the middle of the corner, brings it down the track, and then kind of guns it on exit in about as straight a line as he can. Take a look at this. Out of turn number 2, he's aiming right at the inside wall and just takes off out of the corner. So already we're starting to see drivers get a little bit creative with the lines that they're running. Last time by, Baker ran a 30.849, and that was the second fastest out of the top 10. Up front, Christian Peterson has taken the lead. Curtis has taken second because Hunter Madalinas is on pit road.
Yeah, interesting call here by Madalinas to come down on pit road. And we're gonna cover the stop here. I imagine 4 tires and fuel, but yeah, I guess the fuel the fuel window is open. It's gonna be really interesting to see where he comes back out, but I think he's gonna go a lap down here. It's gonna be really close as the leaders are coming down the front stretch right here. They're definitely gonna lap him. So yeah, gonna be a very interesting call in my opinion, because if a caution comes out, he's going to be in a big hurt and lose a lot of track position.
It's definitely in the window to make it on 2 more stops, but I'm going to be honest, I wonder if that was maybe an unintentional pit stop. We have seen with the implement of auto fuel in the past couple of seasons that now Peterson's coming. No, Peterson's not coming in. So I mean, I wonder if Madalinas maybe didn't take fuel on that first pit stop, because I really don't see any other reason that he would want to come in that early. I mean, he puts himself at risk of being trapped. I think right now it's 1 lap down, and well, he's not going to have any tires in the second half of the run because of how early he's pitting. So I'm not entirely sure if I understand this call from Madalinas, which is why I think it might have been a mistake. Could we see a rare slip up out of the number 7 truck?
Yeah, I think that's and we see the points down on the bottom of the screen. What that does to Madalinas, I think that's the biggest part about this battle right now in the points for all of these drivers. Is it's really early, in the 7-race chase. It's all about just minimizing mistakes. As much as we see guys like Madalinas and Peterson running up front, you can't have a bad race, because we see Madalinas lose that point lead and fall all the way to 4th with just running towards the back now because of this pit stop. So even if he's able to get back to the lead here, or past the leader, and get his lap back, if the caution comes out, he's probably going to struggle to want to stay out. He's going to maybe want to get tires too. So yeah, I'm as puzzled as you are as far as why he did this, but it'll be interesting to see if I don't know, it's Madalinas. It might still work out. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, Madalinas pitted at the point where he can still make the remainder of the race on 2 more stops, but just barely. I mean, it'll be about 2 55-lap runs to make it to the end. So, I mean, we will see. It was within the window. He definitely hasn't ruined his own race by any means, but that is quite the undercut if that's what he's going for.
Yeah, it's the assumption that it's really going to go green for a long time, or at least long enough for everybody else to pit and you cycle back to the lead. So yeah, we'll have to see. I think now we're to a point. Jump also pitted not far after Madalinas. Maybe Madalinas. I'm not trying to understand it the best way we can, but maybe he was just making sure that Jump didn't get past him either. But you can't think that way. You gotta assume that your toughest competitor is the one that's on the same strategy as you, and he changed it up. So we got Henry and Barbagelata battling up here now, up in the top 5. Henry's gonna.
I think Barb's just let him have it. Zach Henry is gonna move his way up into 3rd. Barbagelata back down on the high side. He is taking another swing at it from the bottom, unless he's coming down pit road. No, he's just taking the apron. So Barbagelata maybe backed off, maybe wanted to just set up a crossover, but regardless, that does move Zach Henry up into 3rd. Here comes Will. He'll take another shot at it on the bottom, trying to wrap that yellow line and gain some ground on the 12. It worked brilliantly, almost. He got a little tight out of turn 2. But we're starting to see now the track's starting to separate a little bit in terms of where you can run. That bottom line all the way on the apron becoming a little bit more viable as that middle line gets blown out.
Yeah, the biggest thing now will be once we get to pit stops. These drivers that are using the apron and making it work, you got to look out. There might be drivers either entering pit road or exiting pit road when you use that apron. But yeah, it's really cool to see that those lines work, and we see Baker back here running that enter high and exit as low as possible line. Yeah, it's awesome to see.
I actually ran a race in New Hampshire fairly recently. It was in the Cup car, so maybe not a direct comparison, but one of the things I was able to do on the first run of the race with some decently well-saved tires is just some stupid lines. I mean, kind of like what Baker's doing, enter high, cut low, but just whatever I could think of, and it worked. I mean, the best part about it was that all of them kind of worked. So if you can position your car in a way that makes sense to you, chances are it might be able to work here. We're seeing Baker do it with that enter high and cut low line. We saw Barbagelata do it a little bit by running the apron on 1 and 2, and we're seeing Matthew Weeks making it 3 wide down the front straightaway, but also trying out some alternative lines as well. So there's a lot of ways around this racetrack, especially if you're looking for a way to pass. Maybe you have some saved up tires. I mean, there's a lot you can do here.
Yeah, and this truck is so slow off the line that you get to a point where you're gonna have to slow it down enough to get it to turn, and by maybe making that shorter little turn in the middle of the corner to kind of straighten up your exit or straighten up your entry, you're only slowing down for a smaller part of the corner rather than the entire thing. So yeah, it's awesome to see some of these different lines and trying to but really it's 2 drag strips on the end of some very wide sweeping corners. So you want to be able to get as much speed down these straightaways as you can.
Yeah, like I mean, there's really a lot of ways to attack this track. Matthew Weeks has worked his way back up into 4th as we see Matt Durr and Shane Neiswanger side by side behind. Neiswanger, he is in the playoffs, but right now running on the outer edges of the top 10 with only 10 drivers in the chase. It's not been a great start to the playoffs so far for Shane Neiswanger.
Yeah, and it's basically a points reset and no round eliminations. So you're in it, for the entire 7-race chase, but obviously points are at a premium, and it looks like maybe these guys running the apron makes it look like maybe we're gonna get a pit stop, and they don't. It's funny to see.
Matthew Weeks is taking another swipe at Zach Henry for 3rd. I do think he was maybe saving his tires earlier in the run, and we're seeing that pay off now. Weeks is up in a 3rd. But regarding the playoff format, one of the things that I think kind of changes the mentality for these drivers is the fact that there's no elimination to avoid. It's a straight 10-race chase with a couple of bonus points based on your seeding. But what that does, at least in my opinion, is you no longer have smaller goals. As I think someone just hit pit road, but I believe they were a lap truck. You no longer have smaller goals. There's no, I want to stay out of the bottom 4. There's no just make it to the round of 12. As we see, I believe, who is that? Trent Curtis. Trent Curtis is down on pit road. But like I was saying, there's no staying out of the bottom 4. There's no just avoid elimination. If you're in the playoffs, it's because you're going for the championship. So while running 8th in an elimination style playoff format might not be bad, I mean, Neiswanger isn't really gaining anything by doing that. So in terms of going for the championship, you got to expect yourself to be running up front.
Yeah, now we with these pit stops, we'll see what Curtis was one of those guys that obviously was running up near the front and racing the leader. So it'll be interesting to see where this strategy kind of cycles through with Madalinas on that even longer run strategy. By pitting early. So yeah, I like it. I think obviously getting a little fresher tires and trying to jump some of these drivers that are up in the top 5 is a great idea, especially just because it can be tough to pass later. But we talked about Matthew Weeks. He's as Curtis is going to try to get by him as he's a lap behind him, but Weeks did a great job. We were questioning how far back he was dropping on this green flag run, and it worked out because now he's saved up the tires to drive back up to 2nd.
He's got about a 1/10 of a second in hand over race leader Christian Peterson as Terrell Baker is going around the outside of Barbagelata. Barbagelata is actually hitting pit road, so we are just about in pit stop territory now. Peterson has been on this run for about 53 laps as of last checking. So we're in the window now to make these pit stops, and if you don't want to give yourself too much vulnerability to an undercut, now would be the time to go. Obviously, you're not going to cover off Hunter Madalinas, who pitted a very long time ago. He will surely come out with about a 10-second lead, but we'll have to see how that changes over the course of a run. Now we're on board with Elliot Henderson, who is also bringing that E95 Esports number 37 to pit road.
Yeah, Elliot running up in the top 10 here. I think, yeah, probably more of the, even just a lap or two early here, he might be able to jump one of the drivers that he's racing currently in the top 10 by doing this. I think some of these drivers running a little bit long will be frustrated when they get back out there and have to try to chase down some of these trucks that have been out here for a long time, but that's what's always fun about it is we got the 5 and 14 battling here entering turn 3.
Well, they'll definitely be frustrated about it, but the thing about New Hampshire is that it wears tires so quickly, and it's honestly so difficult to make up time without any sort of advantage that I actually think an overcut might be the way to go here. Passing doesn't seem to be at too much of a premium. I mean, it's definitely challenging, but it's not impossible by any means. As I think we've had another driver hit pit road. No, sorry, my scoring was just acting weird. It's definitely not impossible by any means, so I think having that advantage in hand could definitely be useful. But on the other hand, if you want to play it defensively, taking an undercut and trying to defend for the rest of the run, I mean, that might be a good call. It really depends on you as a driver. Personally, I always love going for overcut. I prefer to have a tire advantage over my opponents, but I think some drivers prefer to just get out front and have the passing work already done for them.
Yeah, and I think you were wondering about pit stop there. It was Weeks from second was just on pit road, so getting the fresher tires, we'll see where that puts him. As he lost some ground, obviously driving back up to the field as Peterson kind of got to the lead and got away. Here's the 20 of Cody Miller. There's a handful of drivers that have hit pit road. Now we have the 8 of Tyrell Breaker on pit road, running up in the top 10.
Baker hits pit road with a little bit of right rear damage. He's been running very high on the track, so I wonder if that came with a little bit of an encounter with the outside wall. He'll take off now. We're watching Zach Henry, who is up in second. If we go ahead and pull up the points as they run, just real quick, Zach Henry, not really sure where he came into this race, but he is okay. So right now he is third in points, so he is by no means out of contention for the championship. Henry has had quite a quiet season so far. A handful of top 5s and top 10s along the way brought him into the playoffs, but he hasn't really had any race win competing runs. We'll see if maybe his fortune can change a little bit today.
Yeah, and a guy that has won a lot of races too in this series, so probably very hungry to get back to victory lane for a guy that's normally able to maybe win multiple races in a season. Is Nicewanger is the next one to hit pit road here.
Nicewanger is in, and Christian Peterson is still not in. He's just on the apron for fun. But Shane Nicewanger is in as well, another driver who is a bit of a veteran of this series, knows how to run up front, but at the same time has had a pretty quiet season. In fact, he really snuck in under the radar into the playoffs.
And 4 tires and fuel here. Get back on track. I think I'm just looking forward to, if we're able to keep this green, we're going to have a lot of different tire strategies as far as when people came down to get their tires. So we're going to have as you mentioned, a lot of people coming and going from the fresh tires to the old tires on track. As Madalena still has fresh tires with some of these drivers he's racing around, but definitely not the newest, just because he's been out there a while since that last pit.
Christian Peterson has hit pit road from the lead as well, so that hands it over to Zach Henry. And now we'll have to see where he comes out in relation to Madalenas. It's going to be a good ways back, but Peterson is going to have, 20, 30 lap fresher tires. So varying strategies going on here at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway as we see Jared Darling working his way up the inside of Cody Miller. Darling is one of the drivers that has been on my radar all season. He had a very strong run to open the season at Daytona and a very strong run at Kansas, but since then, it's kind of been all downhill for the number 1 truck, aside from a almost win a couple of weeks ago at Darlington. So Darling has really been all over the place, and tonight is definitely not one of his stronger runs, but he's always a fun driver to watch out for because you never really know where he's going to end up.
Yeah, we saw a big slide from him early in the race, too, that he was able to come back from. Now running up in the top 2, even though it's on strategy here, just running a little bit longer than some of our leaders. But here's Zach Henry leaving pit road. Oh, and the caution's out.
Oh, and the caution's out.
That's gonna throw.
We got trouble on the racetrack. It looks to be Tony Manji towards the back half of the field. And Ross, I was just about to say, staying out like this could be a huge benefit if they catch a caution at the right time. Well, guess what? Jared Darling is now in the lead of this race.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be really interesting to see what everyone else behind him does now. Like, obviously, these guys that were running long are going to have to pit. But, Madalenas, for instance, now he's got 30 laps on his tires. He's going to almost have to pit, so he's going to be behind Darlene, Brittle, some of these guys. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where some of these guys cycle out. Does a guy like Peterson, who just pitted a handful of laps ago, now stay out? Yeah, it'll be fun. And we got a bunch of them coming down pit road. Looks like maybe Curtis, Weeks, Peterson are all staying out up on the top of the screen there.
So I'm really not sure who this gives an advantage to, because on one hand, guys like Curtis, Weeks, Peterson that already pitted are going to come out as the leaders, but now they've got time on their tires. Everyone that didn't pit under that caution, or everyone that is pitting currently under this caution, is going to have fresher tires. And Hunter Madalinas, I actually think, just won the race off pit road, which is even more interesting to me because that means that, yeah, he took no tires? Two tires. All right, two right sides. I didn't see the right side going up, but I think that's it. So, two rights for Madalinas, which means his lefts are going to be about 30 laps old. And Darling's going to come out behind him. I don't know. This is going to be a wild restart to watch, but before we do that, let's take a look at what brought out the caution. See on board here with Tony Manji, and well, he just got loose, slowed up in front of the field, and took to the grass. Caution comes out. I think that's understandable. There would have been a lot of smoke on the racetrack and a slow truck pretty much in the racing line. Better to play it safe than sorry. Don't want to have anyone plowing into that.
Yeah, we talked about that apron helping trucks turn tonight. We've seen a lot of that. That time it helped the truck turn too much, and it went around on Manji.
Yeah, I mean, this dynamic track system can be quite temperamental, especially when it comes to alternate lines that aren't really on the racetrack. 1 minute, that apron transition is going to help you turn, and the next, it's helping you turn a little bit too much, especially, and I also learned this from experience from that New Hampshire race I was talking about. If you get the right rear on there and the rest of your truck is below it, then you are going to be losing quite a bit of grip. That paint, that yellow line paint, does not have a lot of grip in hand.
So, you're talking about, who this helps the most. And I think, ultimately different tire strategies here, we're going to have to see how it goes. But the one guy I'm going to say that this helped a lot is the 44 Matt Durr. He was one that kind of hit pit road as the caution came out, was able to get his stop done and get back on track. Then everybody that did pit, basically that pitted under caution, he was able to jump them. And now he's sitting up there in 6th. With some of the freshest tires. So, yeah, somebody like that, just kind of a lucky caution break when it hit, and that really worked out for him.
Yeah, there was quite a good bit of luck that went into that caution. So where we stand now, Christian Peterson, he is probably right now the outright leader of this race on 5-lap old tires. Madeline has just pitted under that caution for right sides only. So those are where your two contenders stand. Your top 4, Curtis, Weeks, Barbagelata, and Peterson. Your top 3 stayed out. So Curtis, Weeks, and Barbagelata, they are all on, let's see, it looks to be 16 or older lap tires. So Curtis is on 16 lap old, Weeks on 11, Barbagelata on 13. That's where we stand as we restart just past halfway here in the Dupont Handyman Services 170. Green flag is in the air, and we are back racing at New Hampshire. It's a bad restart for the inside line. We're going to go 3 wide. No, they file it back down to 2 into turn number 1. Henderson does not file it back down. He's going down the inside of the 71 as Weeks and Barbagelata are going at it for second. Weeks gets sideways off the corner. Durr makes contact with the 71, and we got a crash. Matthew Weeks sideways down the back straightaway in front of the field. I really sold on that call. Sorry. Will did not go around. That was Matthew Weeks that went around, and the caution is back out.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see this in a rare mistake from Christian Peterson. I think that he was the one that kind of made a mistake. He was at least apologizing after this incident here. Looks like Weeks getting a little loose there. Yeah, Peterson maybe got into Durr and then got into Weeks' back bumper and around he went.
And now we have playoff implications. Matthew Weeks was one of your championship contenders, and now he is sitting down in the 27th position with a bent up front end. We're on board here with, okay, I'm going to be honest, I don't recognize that hood, but we'll see what happened as he tries to get through the wreck. A little bit of contact with the 2 of Henry, a little bit more contact with the 2 of Preston Henry, but they get through that all right. Believe what happened, by the way, out of turn number 2 is Peterson was trying to jump to the outside of Matthew Weeks, who had gotten a little bit slow off the corner after contact with Barb Gelata. That's why I started to say Will. And I honestly don't think he realized the 44 of Durr was on his outside. I think he might have had a little brain fart moment there.
Yeah, and he did kind of say that under right after the incident that I just didn't know he was there and apologize. So yeah, tough way to a couple trucks getting a ton of damage there, and a
It's
guy
Brent
like Weeks,
Pincott who piled into that as well.
yeah, and a guy like Weeks, coming into this race top 3 in points, it's definitely gonna hurt.
Gonna hurt. Oh, so getting a report. I'm not sure if that was conveyed on the broadcast, but Zach Henry, problems for him as well. He might have fallen out of the server. So Matthew Weeks gets turned around. Henry gets disconnected from the server. Playoff drama is heating up here as we pass halfway in the second race of the playoffs. Why don't we go ahead and pull up the points and see where we stand now after all that drama? So Madalena still leads it. He's got only 12 points in hand over Peterson, but it's Weeks and Henry who take the biggest hits of all. Weeks goes from entering 3rd to running in 5th, and Zach Henry is all the way down in 8th.
In this the playoff reset, you think about one of the last times we were on the air together, we talked about Henderson just trying to make it into the top 10, and obviously then having a good run now last week and here this week he was able to jump up to 3rd now with some of these other drivers having problems. We talked about Nicewanger, ultimately the points gap to the leader is still probably pretty far away, but gaining some position with some of these guys having issues. But yeah, it's tough. Looks like Henry's reconnecting, so going to be maybe a couple laps down though from falling out of the server. But yeah, that's too bad. We'll see if he can regain any points tonight. That's a tough break.
And just a quick reverse through the field here for an update on all of your playoff drivers. I wish you'd kept the points up there, Jeff. Zach Henry, or sorry, not Zach Henry, Chris Heller, he is not here tonight, so that is why we have not seen him so far. Jackson Sims, it's been a pretty atrocious night for him, but he's recovered nicely. He is right now running up in 16th. Zach Henry just fell out of the server, so bad luck has struck him. And the 23 of Spencer Owens, while not having been involved in any incidents so far, has really just not had the pace tonight. He is right now down in 14th. The rest of the drivers we have talked about probably ad nauseum for the rest of the race this night.
You mentioned Spencer Owens. Actually, just looked like maybe not a very good qualifying run tonight because he started kind of out back, 29th of the 31 starters, and it is up to 14th now. We talked about how hard it is to pass, so obviously just having to dig out of the hole pretty much the whole race.
Coming back to the green flag, Trent Curtis, the short run king of the night, has taken the lead over Will Barbagelata. He'll bring us back up through the gas, and we are back underway here at New Hampshire. Barbagelata slides up in front of Christian Peterson to secure 2nd place, and it'll be a land rush off turn number 2 as the field tries to get back down to single file. Curtis leads over Barbagelata, Peterson, and Durr. They're side by side for 5th.
And we saw Peterson and Durr in that last caution there, but able to keep rolling. So they're able to keep their top 4 running spots right now. As yeah, these drivers mid-pack are slicing and dicing, trying to gain some spots. Remember, we still had some different tire strategies because of the timing of that last caution. So it'll be interesting to see if one of these drivers with some of the fresher tires is able to gain some ground and pick up some spots here. As Peterson's going to look to the inside of Barbagelata here for 2nd.
Elliot Henderson's on the move as well. He just made his way around the 8 of Terrell Baker. As here comes Christian Peterson down the inside of Barbagelata. Will not actually putting up much of a fight. Peterson drove right past him down the front straightaway and into 1 and 2. So move Christian Peterson up into 2nd. Scramble behind is still on. Baker leading that group as as Madalenas and Nicewanger are going side by side for 7th.
Yeah, we see Madalenas back here, battling these guys. Gonna maybe make it 3 wide here with Darling trying to look to the inside. Not close enough.
Jared Darling really came out of nowhere there. Remember, he's on 4 tires, while Madalinas right now is only on 2. If I had to guess, I think those 2 tires are going to hold on well for now, but as the run goes on and that right side grip starts to go away, he will be begging for some more left side grip.
Yeah, and actually, Jeff had reported that potentially not any tires at all, even. So a crazy idea there to try to gain some of that track position back. But I think that's just trying to make up from that decision he made earlier, and I think that was maybe just a little overthinking as far as what strategy was going to work tonight, and going to have to dig out of the hole here.
Well, I saw in the first place that I didn't think the right side went up, but I figured there was no way he didn't take tires. But yeah, so Madalinas has been on these tires since lap 70. That's a choice. Definitely a choice.
Twice tonight we're questioning the points leader, but it's definitely not worked yet so far. So we'll have to see. Obviously, 60 laps to go. He's gonna see if he can get back up there. And one thing that fixes bad strategy calls is a fast truck, and obviously, and a fast driver, and that's what he is. So back in the pack here, Cody Miller trying to gain a position. Curtis and Peterson are going to battle for the lead.
Christian Peterson, he knows this is an opportunity for him to try and take the championship lead, and he is looking to maximize points. He is all over the 51 of Trent Curtis. You got to imagine that right now Peterson, he's seeing Madalena struggling, and he smells blood in the water. The gap is at 9 points, and it's about to go down a little bit more. As Peterson works his way around Trent Curtis, you'll see the points update on the left side of your screen. The gap is down to just 3 as Christian Peterson gets to the point at New Hampshire. 60 laps to go, and Christian Peterson is out front.
And Curtis going to do the apron line that he's used so often tonight to try to get the lead back. It's awesome to see these guys swapping back. He's going to do it. He's going to clear Peterson and get back to him. Peterson's going to do the crossover, try to return the favor in 3 and 4. I just like that option of going down to the apron and then kind of almost pulling a slide job on these your competitor. And Peterson's going to do it, clear back by Curtis here. Just a couple lap fresher tires too on that 71 truck. So.
And Jared Darling just made a power move in 3 and 4. He picked off the 49 and the 8 all in one go. Jared Darling, who started off this race mired towards the back of the pack, is on 4 fresh tires and a mission. He is charging up through the field, and the caution is out. We got trouble, looks to be on the back straightaway. It might have been Gavin Fitzgerald. He looks to be slow and with damage. No, it actually happened in front of him.
Ashton Lawson has turned around backwards in turn 2.
Yeah, it was Ashton Lawson. He got spun around in 1 and 2. It was a single car crash, and it was contact between him and the 00, which brings out this caution.
Yeah, it sounds like Dupont was kind of trying to explain himself there right as the caution came out. So maybe, like, as you say, something happened between the two of them there. Looks like Weeks may be involved too.
Great. Oh, well, it didn't start out great. Dupont got sent into the corner by Eric Kepf. He was trying to avoid the 2 of Preston Henry and kind of just came down the track in the path of Lawson.
Yeah, and Preston Henry, nice little save there from getting bumped. He had to use the wall to kind of slow himself down, but a little stack up entering the corner and then multiple slides
That wasn't a crash earlier.
Yeah, and Lawson just trying to fall back in line there. And obviously Dupont, because he got sent in the corner, he's going to do kind of the same run that we've seen so many times tonight and exit low. But when there's 2 cars down there, it's kind of hard to do that. We're going to have some pit stops here. I think this is going to be interesting to see if this is in the fuel window to make it to the end.
Yeah, so we're down
really
pit
close.
road again. I think if we have enough cautions there, they'll definitely be able to make it to the end from here, actually. And Madalinas, this is really good for him because this allows him to get 4 fresh tires on and essentially reset with the field.
And I think the other side to this is you're going to be running low on tires too. We only 4 sets available, so you could run low here with the amount of tires these guys are getting. So some of these drivers that maybe feel like right now you can pit and make it to the end, you probably can if you stretch this set of tires, but some of them might be running low on sets though in that situation where some of these guys that are staying out are going to save that set for later, which would be really interesting to see if that actually happens.
So admittedly, I haven't been keeping track of tire sets, but if I had to guess, I think Christian Peterson has around one left as Hunter Madalinas is coming back down pit road for some reason.
Third time now tonight we're questioning his pit calls.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna say it was a bad call until the race is over, finishes. But
maybe.
yeah, it's interesting.
Well, if we're close on fuel, he's probably topping off, which might be a good call.
Sure.
So, I'm gonna guess. Okay, I'm guessing he's topping off. I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that call. I'm on board. Yeah. Interesting race so far. We really aren't. I'm not really sure how this is going to play out. Unfortunately, there's no way for us to see on our timing and scoring system ATVO how many tire sets these guys have left. I'm guessing Peterson has one. I'm just kind of taking a shot in the dark there. Based on how many times he's pitted. Yeah. Yeah, your top 13, by the way, have all stayed out on track, starting with Blair Neabone up to Elliot Henderson, your race leader. So this is really going to shake things up because now your highest running playoff drivers are Elliot Henderson and Shane Neiswanger.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if these guys are probably going to hope that we, go another 20, 30 laps and then get a caution, be able to come get tires, and maybe these guys in the back half would be down a set and have to make a decision at that point whether they do have a set remaining or not. One guy we talked about early in this race we know for sure has an extra set is that Nathan Jump in the 41. He's running up in 6th there because on that first caution everybody came down and he didn't. So and he was able to run all the way to that first window. So that's a guy that has extra rubber whenever he needs it. We'll just see if he gets to use it.
We'll have to see how it all plays out. I could really use some AWS insights right here if we could steal that from Formula One. Don't think we can. The green flag is back out, and Elliot Henderson is going to lead us back to green. Shane Neiswanger follows him through on the outside, but Jared Darling hangs with him. They're side by side for second into one. Henderson's got a nice berth out front. Caution's out. Caution's out. We're already wrecking in the back of the field. And Hunter Madalinas! Madalinas is into the outside wall. And I don't see too much damage on that truck. So he might have escaped, but that is not good for your points leader.
Yeah, it looked like Matt Durr was part of that incident too. Obviously, he was on that last caution, was able to kind of get back in the same cycle as some of these guys.
He was going for it on the inside. The crash was in front of him. Yeah, he got hit from behind.
Jackson Sims got spun off the side of somebody, it looked like, and then Madalina's just trying to avoid him, kind of had to come back on track after using the apron to kind of get going on that start.
That's the problem with putting yourself back there, is that you're kind of at the mercy of everyone else. Sims looks like the 64 might have checked up into him, and that caused him to, I guess it sort of unloaded the rear end, sent it around, and then behind them, Madalinas was on the inside of Durr, who got turned separately into his left rear quarter panel. So we'll see it here. Durr spins and just drives into the side of the 7. Not his fault, obviously, just kind of how it worked out. Madalinas didn't get any damage. He kept it off the outside wall. He'll have right side just a little bit at minimum, which he'll come down pit road now to get fixed. But yeah, that puts him down in 26th, and additionally, kind of ruins that fresh set of tires by sliding him.
You had talked about, the kind of the last car to stay out was Blair Neabone, and he kind of was the start of that. Not by any fault. I think, obviously on older tires, giving everybody room, he kind of checked up, and it kind of stacked up that whole bottom line, and that when you have a moment like that where everybody is diving into turn one, it's really easy to just kind of accordion into each other and have an incident. So we just saw a wave around Zach Henry going around the leaders there. That's going to get him one of his laps back, still another lap down yet from that disconnect earlier. So a guy that's trying to rebound from that disconnect, that issue early on, a playoff driver that's going to try to get as many points as possible.
So we got 50 laps to go, and, well, I hate to bring this up after Dover, but we only have 35 minutes to complete them. So this race is getting mixed up once again, and it was quite long to start with, and looks like now we might be under the threat of time. So there's A lot happening here at New Hampshire. Madalinas has sent himself to the back. Elliot Henderson has now assumed the race lead. I would love to see what this is doing to the points right about now because it is definitely going to look a little different than what we started with. We'll pull him up now on the left side of your screen, and inexplicably, this has promoted Elliot Henderson to the provisional championship lead with a 10-point gap to Hunter Madalinas and an additional 3 points to Christian Peterson. So, truly, no one is safe from the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Not even Hunter Madalinas, who came into this race with 4 wins in a row.
Yeah, that'd be very interesting if Madalinas and Peterson are not able to get back up there. I still think, Henderson, Nicewanger, some of these guys, unless we get a run of multiple cautions here, I guess it's possible. But they're gonna probably have to pit at some point again. So it'll be interesting to see if it still might work out depending on when that pit stop is for them to keep this track position. But yeah, it's really kind of sent not just the field all over and where they're running, but also our playoff standings, which is pretty awesome.
Well, you got to try something, I mean, I think Peterson and Madalinas are running this race from the perspective of this is the ideal strategy if the race goes how I think it will. I think Henderson and Nicewanger might be running more under, well, I don't really know what's going to happen, so here's a way that I can stay at the front of the field. Let's see what happens. And as of now, it's given Henderson a championship lead. So we'll see how this changes as we continue on in this race. Pace truck is in, and with 49 laps to go, the 49 truck is on the front row. Green flag is back in the air. Elliot Henderson brings him back to green, and we are down and away towards turn number 1. Let's see if we can make it through cleanly.
Yeah, Nicewanger did a nice job to get to second there. We've seen the second place driver kind of struggle all night.
And there they go! Big crash on the back straightaway. Evan Snyder around. So is Brett Kingcott and the 64 of Blair Neobone. I saw that one a mile away. They were 4 wide all over the place. Out of turn 2. Snyder is pulled off the track. He might be throwing in the towel. Kingcott is involved as well. The caution's back out.
Yeah, tough. Another one of those tough restarts. We'll have to see what happened as they got to the backstretch at least this time. But yeah, unfortunately, multiple trucks involved in this one, and probably a couple that are going to be, like you say, probably done. We'll see the replay here.
Well, New Hampshire is just such a wide track, but because it's so flat, you kind of have to arc out of the corners. And when you're running 5 wide in the middle of the corners, it can be a little tricky to fit all those trucks on a straightaway. So that appeared to be the main cause of the caution there as Snyder got into the side of Blair Neobone. Quite hectic restarts going on here at the Magic Mile.
Yeah, I saw Madalinas and Manji kind of at the bottom down there. You see them both kind of trying to use that apron, get together a little bit, and it's kind of came up to those other 3 trucks that were kind of running out of room up the top side, and it just kind of all came together at the same time.
Hunter Madalinas, by the way, restarted in 25th. He gained 7 spots and is up in 17th. So it pays to be aggressive, and we're seeing that right now. Hunter Madalinas on the recovery after making a couple of interesting strategical calls earlier on. Honestly, I think he's in a good place now. We'll go on board with him here. Watch as he dives to the inside of Jackson Sims and just rolls the bottom through the corner. I didn't even realize they were wrecking way before that started out of turn number 2.
Yeah, absolutely. And you kind of need to, in that situation, go where they're not. And that's exactly what Madalinas did, running that apron. And, yeah, lots of the drivers kind of stacking up or slowing each other's momentum by kind of getting into each other and able to gain a bunch of spots there.
Yeah, for sure. Sometimes you really just got to find gaps where you can find them, basically. So again, Elliot Henderson and Shane Nicewanger are your top 2 in the race. Terrell Baker is 3rd, and Jared Darling is 4th. Darling, again, one of those drivers who has found himself at the front of the field a couple of times this season. Hasn't been able to do much with it yet, but he did almost win the regular season finale at Darlington. And if we're going straight off of numbers, he does have the freshest tires in the top 5. He's actually tied with Nathan Jump for freshest tires up there. He's in a good spot right now.
Yeah, it'll be interesting here. We see Jeff has thrown up the time left in this session. We joked about darkness. We've seen that at New Hampshire in the real life races multiple times the last handful of years, where darkness has run into a problem there. The race is called early because of that. So, yeah, we're gonna have the 33 minutes to go here. I think as of right now, if we get this back going, even with a couple cautions, we probably would get this in. But yeah, if you get a run of cautions like we had at Dover, you could have a situation where we potentially run out of time. So we talked about Madalinas, Niswonger, some of these guys just trying to maybe do a different strategy. I guess every time there's a caution, there's more opportunity to potentially just try to stay out as long as possible and see what happens. I guess that's a strategy they're going to go with.
Yeah, I mean, this is a long race. I know we've had a lot of cautions, but these races have an hour 55-minute time limit and 170 laps in New Hampshire. That's an endurance race. That is not a sprint. To try and squeeze that in under 2 hours, it's asking a lot. And I think we're seeing some of the effects of that endurance, maybe some fatigue coming through here as we get towards the end of this race. So Elliot Henderson and Shane Niswonger are going to lead us back to green. The Dupont Handyman Services 170. That has been the same front row for the past couple of restarts now. Let's see if we can keep it green. The green flag is back out. Barney waves him down, and we are back racing at New Hampshire. Fanning out again. Jim Duda all the way on the high side. Trent Curtis on the other end of the spectrum, all the way next to the grass on the bottom. And then they bottleneck back up for the straightaway. Spencer Owens getting a little squirrely with Barbara Gelada on his inside. Cody Miller follows him through, and Trent Curtis is back on the apron in a 3 and 4. Caressel in the middle of that fight as well. So is Michael Senzi. There are trucks all over the place as they come out of turn number 4. Hunter Brittle is sideways in front of the field, especially in front of the 27 of Barb Gelada, but Barb stays out of it. Brittle goes around. The caution is out.
Yeah, he was running up in 6th there, and I think had it saved, then not saved, then saved, then not saved, but I think the only way he was really going to save it was either to continue to try to catch it in front of the pack, or ultimately spin it to the inside there, and that's what he did, which I guess saved a lot of the other trucks. But either way, it's going to bring out a caution because of that narrow front stretch.
Yeah, honestly, good on Brittle for not turning it back up into the field. I think he recognized what was happening there. Watch that number 10 Virginia Tech Chevy. Yeah, he just hooked it hard left to keep it out of harm's way. And fair play to him. That definitely saved a lot of drivers' races there. So good heads-up driving by that Virginia Tech machine. We are back under caution. And luckily that time, all of the playoff drivers escaped unharmed.
Yeah, and this is going to make it a pretty interesting to see. Is Barbara Gelada kind of not really anywhere he could go there. I mean, obviously just waiting for Brittle to decide which way he was, and really not decide. I mean, ultimately he made the right decision, but yeah, just kind of waiting to see where it goes.
Yeah, definitely a tough situation there for Barbs, but I think he got out of it without any damage. Yeah, that front end is looking decent enough. For how many cautions we've had, I'd say a little bit of right side damage is nothing too bad. Nothing a little tape can't fix.
These yellows we talked about on that last caution, but Zach Henry's been able to get back on the lead lap here. Looks like Rod Fosnow is going to be getting the free pass at this time too. So yeah, very interesting to see. We get these cautions to have this ability to get your laps back. Some of these drivers that had the issues, Henry with the disconnect, Fosnow was part of an earlier caution. Going to be able to get back in the lead lap, maybe get some positions here.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's sort of allowed everyone to get back on an even playing field, and really now it's just a game of how many spots can you make up on these restarts. For those of you that are tracking Hunter Madalinas, he has worked his way back up into 14th. So great recovery by Hunter Madalinas, and well, maybe not so much for Christian Peterson. I'm actually not sure what happened to him, but he's down in 26th.
Yeah, and we have 29.
Actually, I know what happened to him. He pitted. He pitted under this caution.
There you go. Yeah, he did. We have 29 cars on the lead lap of our 31 starters. So really, only 2 drivers that are not on the lead lap, and they're both out with Ashton Lawson having those issues. He's working on some damage, at least maybe trying to get back out there, but it looks like, yeah, he's done actually. And then the 53 of Jared Duda that was part of that early caution in this race is out.
So if I may, I think the pendulum is sort of swung back towards Hunter Madalinas. He still has a little bit, I think, of time to make up, or spots to make up if he wants to get back around Elliot Henderson in those provisional points, but he has a lot more gain than that 37 does, so still a good run for Elliot, but I think Madalinas is once again in the preferred position. What I like about where Peterson is, though, is that he definitely doesn't have to stop again before the end of this race. He'll have fresh tires, and I'd imagine at this point he's just going to stick it out until the end. I actually don't know if he has fresh tires, but he definitely has a full tank of fuel, and if that is the case, he does not need to stop again. He can stick it out as long as this race runs.
It'll be interesting to see how the where this goes as far as the timing situation. We'll have to flip back and forth between laps and times and the time left in this session. So to see what happens. I think the other interesting part, we've seen it multiple times tonight. There's some officiating in this too. We're gonna have potentially some of these drivers that were changing lanes. That's something you got to watch for on these restarts. We also there's some officiating at post race with incidents too. So obviously some stuff here that just trying to clean it up and hopefully get here we'll have a good restart and be able to get back going green.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that and keep you updated next week. Neiswanger and Henderson have been in the front row for the past couple of restarts. Nothing has changed there. Back up through the gears they go, and Elliot Henderson is leading him away towards turn number 1. A great jump by him gives him about a car length as here comes Nathan Jump. 3 wide on the bottom. He's got the spots on Baker and Duda. Baker gets him back on the outside, and the caution is back out. Big crash in 1 and 2. Dupont into the wall, Senzi around on the inside, and Fasnaugh stopped on track as well.
Yeah, I don't know what caused it, but obviously middle of the pack, multiple drivers involved. Have to take a look here.
Some of these hits just keep coming for these drivers. Looks like it started with Madalinas, Manji, and Senzi. See it happening in front of there. 92 gets sent around. Now we're on board with Aiden Dupont, who gets slammed into the outside wall. I wonder if maybe he got ran over from behind, trying to avoid the wreck. Yeah, it looks like he might have got tagged around by the 93 of Snyder.
We saw Madalinas and Manji kind of battling while also passing drivers on these last couple of restarts. So here they're going to go to battle again into 1.
Yeah, Manji squeezing him down, but there's another truck there, and that contact is what sent him around.
It's funny how we've seen it multiple times where these drivers, or something happens where a driver or two get into a little battle, and it just kind of cycles back a couple, cars behind them or a couple trucks behind them. Obviously, Senzi here got spun, and then, mixed it in with some of these other guys. But yeah, you see like Snyder, Dupont, Henry, who just got back on the lead lap, getting a little bit of damage. It just kind of brings everybody in because of the stack up entering the corner.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just, drivers trying to gain everything they can. And, hey, we've had a change up front. Elliot Henderson and Shane Neiswanger have both come down pit road. That's going to put Jared Darling in the lead of this race with Nathan Jump alongside him.
Yeah, an interesting call there to I suppose make sure that they can make it to the end, but obviously we're running out of time too, so it's interesting to see. I guess maybe as playoff drivers they're thinking more of a safer play, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Darling, Jump, if these guys can make it far enough to make it to the end of the time here, if that's where we're going.
I mean, really, the biggest problem with pitting now isn't necessarily that you're caught in traffic, but it's that you're caught in the danger zone, right? Like, it's one thing to be behind and have a lot of spots to make up. It's another thing to be pretty much guaranteed to have a wreck in front of you. Now you're just going to have to avoid it. So what I like about the spot that Madalinas is in is that he's cleared most of that problems, He's cleared the mid-pack where all these incidents are happening, and actually, am I on not replay, or never mind, okay, Jeff was live, I was on replay, just got to make sure we're synced up there. But what I like about where Madalinas is that he's clear of all the mid-pack drama. He's in 9th. Peterson, on the other hand, he might be in a better spot in terms of fuel and tires, but he doesn't have a lot of time to use those fuel and tires, and he's still got to work his way through a pretty packed field, which has been kind of grenading in on itself these past couple of runs. So, once again, the pendulum, I think, is fully in favor of that number 7 truck. He's got it done 4 times in a row now, and he's looking like he could maybe make it 5. That would be historic, too, just by itself.
For sure. And I think the other guy that I'm going to throw in there that we've seen multiple times tonight, run up near the front, really good on short runs, is that 51 of Trent Curtis. He's, just ahead of Madalinas there. A couple lap older tires, but I think that was just hitting a caution before Madalinas. So he was able to kind of get through all the mess of the last couple of restarts, and he's going to be one that's up there with a little bit fresher tires than these front 5 here that are going to restart here up front.
Yeah, we talk about Madalinas' aggression quite often, but Trent Curtis has matched him pass for pass, basically, in this race. He has been very aggressive and eager to get to the front and stay up there. All right, pace car is in. Jared Darling going to lead us to green with Nathan Jump alongside, but pretty much everybody in the top 5 still has to pit before the end of the race. Green flag is back out, and with time and laps winding down, it is Jared Darling who leads us away. And we got trouble already. Jim Duda sideways in front of Cody Miller. It's a big crash in 1 and 2. Preston Henry into the wall as well. Brittle around. A good save by Christian Peterson keeps him from spinning. And luckily the playoff drivers have escaped it again. But Jim Duda goes around and brings out the caution. Again.
Yeah, Jim kind of finally, was able to cycle up towards the lead with this strategy. Or up towards the leaders here, and was running up in the top 5. So we'll see this replay. He talked about not wanting to be in the middle of the mess, but here we have an incident towards that front 5. It looks like, just getting caught up with Owens there, and then, kind of sliding.
My goodness, Madalinas has gotten so lucky this race.
Yeah. Looked like Peterson maybe got turned late there. I don't know if he was able to keep it straight. It'll be interesting to see what where he's running now. I think the scoring I have, he's 16th, but we'll see what happens as some of these guys are maybe going to see. Peterson got
Brittle.
He got hit pretty hard by the 10 there. Brittle, yeah.
Yeah, Hunter Brittle just went back up the track and went slap into the side of the 71. So luckily, iRacing's damage model takes pretty kindly to side-on hits like that, but still, I mean, that's a scary spot to be in if you're fighting for a championship, and it is just going to continue to put Christian Peterson behind the 8 ball.
Yeah, it looks like he stayed out, so definitely, like you said, maybe not feeling that there's any damage there that he needs to fix. There's a handful of others, Gavin Fitzgerald, Brent Kingcott, Senzi, Caressel, that have pitted here, and then, of course, some of these guys that were involved in that, with Brittle. Looks like Fosna, Preston Henry, Cody Miller all pitted on this caution with we're closing down on 20 minutes to go.
20 minutes to go. We have those 20 minutes to complete about 30 laps, which I actually think is still possible if we go green. So still a chance that this race does end under green flag conditions. That's what we can all hope for. Jared Darling is still in the race lead. He's in an interesting spot because I don't think he can make it all the way, but I also don't think he's going to pit, even if he does run out of fuel. I got to imagine, I mean, if you're in the lead of this race and you don't really otherwise have a chance to win, why not stick it out? He's not in the playoffs, so it's not like he's got a race for points. Might as well try and do something, right? And just see how long you can stay up there.
We talked about it with the points battle, too. That 23 Spencer Owens, he was a guy we talked about that, was struggling early on in this race. And he's on this strategy of staying out as long as possible here, maybe seeing where this rash of cautions is going to go. And that's a driver that's trying to make up some points on some of these drivers in the playoffs that are maybe having some issues. So running 3rd now.
Yeah, definitely. Owens on that same group that definitely can't make it to the end, but is going to try his best. If we're looking at drivers that can definitely make it to the end, Barbara Gelada, Curtis, Maggi, Robin Durr, Madalinas, and Sims, they have all been on their tires for 27, or on their fuel for 27 or less laps, so I believe they can all make it, as can Weeks and Durr behind them. So look for them to be the real contenders in this race. But if we get enough cautions, Darling and Jump and company might just be able to stick it out up front. We'll just have to see. Trent Curtis is in a good spot as well. He's restarting 5th on the inside. He's got fresher tires than the majority of the drivers in front of him, save for Will Barbagelata. So maybe look for him to make a move into turn 1 and try and get the lead here.
Yeah,
nobody's out of it yet, is what I'm trying to say.
For sure, and hopefully we can get this going green here because, yeah, I think it'll be very interesting to see who can cycle up to the lead here. And yeah, I think these 3 trucks that are up front can potentially have some pace here to keep these guys that maybe have a little fresher tires behind them, at least for a while, if we do go green.
The more we run out these cautions, the more these tires equalize. We are back underway at New Hampshire. 18 minutes to go and under 30 laps to go. We'll see which one comes first. Down into turn number 1. It's Jared Darling leading away as the field fans out behind him. Well, this time they make it through 1 and 2 cleanly. We'll see if they can do the same. They're 4 wide towards the back down to 3. Right now, Spencer Owens is looking to make his way down the inside of Nathan Jump. As back in the pack, Matt Durr is falling backwards. He's got Peterson on his inside. But Durr just fell through a hole in the pack, and he is outside the top 15.
Yeah, and really nice restart. We've been able to kind of keep it. Oh, there's Darling. He went for a slide, and there goes
And around goes Tony Manji.
Curtis.
He collects Trent Curtis, gets hit again, and the 7 of Madalenas is kind of in it, but again escapes with minimal damage. The same cannot be said for Tony Manji, whose rear bumper just got ripped off in that crash. Curtis in it as well. A lot of heavy hitters involved.
It was crazy to...
And Madalenas, how lucky can you be?
That was crazy to think that kind of almost like started with our leader, Jared Darling, exiting the corner. We saw it happen to him earlier in the race multiple times, just getting loose off the corner and doing the big slide. And I don't know if there was any reaction from people behind him or what there, but yeah, it looks like no, but it looks like the similar kind of run that Darling had off the corner, Manji did, but he had somebody to his inside. I don't know if he got help from the back bumper, but we'll have to see from a different angle here.
Yeah, the problem child there, so to speak, was the 24 of Manji. I think he got, he started to turn himself around, and then Madalenas kind of finished the job, not intentionally, of course. Manji gets turned into the 51, and Curtis slides back up into the 7, and that'll kind of squeeze him against the wall. Again, I don't think Madalenas has much damage out of that, but still, I mean, it definitely lost a couple of spots at least. Well, actually, no, he's back up in 6th, so the timing of the caution meant that he kept his spot, but still, I'd rather not be involved in that if possible. In terms of what happened to Jared Darling, he has lost the lead, so Nathan Jump now has that spot. But yeah, I mean, we're seeing these guys are struggling to control their trucks. I mean, it's still not a super hot day out, but New Hampshire doesn't have a lot of grip. On iRacing especially, I mean, I hate to say this, but it has a little bit of a vague feeling to it. These trucks just got updated, so they're a little sketchier than usual. We're seeing a lot of incidents come as a result of guys overdriving corners or getting a little bit loose, and it's clearly a very tricky race.
Yeah, and I think obviously a lot of drivers that have cycled to the lead at different times, and once you get to the lead, you kind of get a taste of that. You think, well, I mean, I'm able to get to the lead here. I should stay there. And if you cycle back out of the lead, then you want to get back to it. So it's, yeah, a lot of different drivers that have had those moments we talked about. Obviously towards the beginning we had Madalenas, Curtis, Peterson all running up there. Now we've had this group with, Jump and Darling. We had the Niswanger, Elliot Henderson are trying to come back after they had been up near the front. So you get a little bit of a taste of the lead and you feel like this is your opportunity to, you deserve an opportunity to get back to it. So, yeah, it's some aggression. Not saying any of those drivers are at fault, but it obviously just makes it really easy to have people making mistakes because everybody is so aggressive trying to gain spots on the restarts.
And still, I don't think that Nathan Jump and Jared Darling can make it to the end of this race, but I think they're going to stick it out as long as humanly possible. When we come back to green this time by, we will have 23 laps or 14 minutes to go. If we go green, we can make it on laps. If not, we will be at the mercy of the timer. Pace car is going to be in this time by Nathan Jump leads us back to green. We're back underway. Not a good restart for Jared Darling, nor a good restart for Trent Curtis. It was a very disorganized roll back into the Geico restart zone. Barbagelata now on the inside of Jared Darling for second as Madalinas tries to take fourth from Owens. And they're spinning again in the back. Evan Snyder around. The caution is back out. And Aiden Dupont. Looked like he went hard into the inside wall. That'll be the end of the race for the 00 truck. He'll be on the record back to pit road as Snyder gets it spun back around.
Yeah, tough night for Aiden. The Dupont name on the race tonight. Obviously wanted to have a good run, but yeah, it just seemed like multiple incidents tonight just not going his way, unfortunately. But yeah, now we've seen Snyder. I think he was kind of involved in an earlier wreck too. It's just yeah, and I think this is getting closer and closer to see what would happen if some of these leaders. I think you get another caution or two, you might be able to be a Nathan Jump and steal this.
And well, Hunter Brittle drove into the side of the 93, and that was actually Brittle, I think, that hit the inside wall. My mistake, got the wrong crimson red truck there.
There you go. Yep.
But yeah, looks like Brittle kind of just, well, you know, sometimes when you're this far into the race, it's a little hard to stay mentally sharp. And we might have seen that there as Brittle kind of just did not turn down for the 93. And then I don't think he wanted to be here anymore. I think he might have gassed it up into the inside wall. Not a good night for Hunter Brittle as of recent.
Yeah, and I know we see some interesting things happening with the leaders here. Looks like the 63 and 64 are pulled up in front of the leaders here. Not sure what's going on with scoring, but it seems the 25 of Jim Duda is going to get the free pass here.
Neobone and Kep for both down pit road. I do believe we can say safely now that we are going to be at the mercy of the timer. We do have 20 laps to go, so theoretically we could get close with the green flag run, but lights are out of the pace car though, so we are starting to shorten up these cautions, which is nice. We'll get you back going here this time by. Nathan Jump is going to lead the field back to green. Still don't think he can make it, but with time running out, he's definitely in a better spot than he was before. Barbagelata can make it to the end, and he's also got about 20 lap fresher tires in hand. So I would look for him to take the lead of this race, and then of course Madalinas to follow suit. See how long Jump can hang on though. We know he knows how to get it done. He won earlier this year at Kansas.
Yeah, this one will be interesting because really we have the 3 drivers that are on the longer run all on the inside lane there with the 41, the 1, and the 23. So all of the drivers that are that have a little bit fresher tires up on that outside lane, which is a lane that's been the kind of the preferred lane on the restart so far tonight.
We'll see how it plays out. We are going back up through the gears, and that was a messy restart. The top 2 got stacked up. Madalinas tried to time it, and he ended up timing it right into the back bumper of Will Barbagelata, who now gets into the side of Jared Darling. Madalinas is going to split the difference and go right through the middle. Hunter Madalinas on a tear on the restart. He turns the 1 around in the grass, and now he'll be side by side with Barbagelata down into 3.
And Jump's just hoping these 2 battle it out here. It's going to see if Madalinas can get clear. He can't, or he can. He's going to get clear of Barbagelata and take that second spot, and I think he's going to set his sights on the 41. We'll see if he can get to him.
Madalinas wants this bad. You could see the desperation on the restart as he drove between the 27 and the 1 truck and muscled his way into second place. You got to give him credit, though. These aggressive moves have been working for him all season, and now he sees his 5th win in a row running right in front of him, and it looks like a bright blue number 41 truck. 3 wide behind. Peterson fires out of the canyon on the bottom. I think he's got 2 spots in 1 if he can get him in turn 1. Weeks is there as well. There's playoff drivers scrambling all over the place with under 10 minutes to go from New Hampshire.
Yeah, these drivers are, ever since the restart, it's going to get tight on the exit here. Nice job by everybody to hit the back straightaway and rip right down it, no problem. But yeah, this is Peterson's been able to recover really nicely with a couple a really good restart there and round a couple of these guys that are battling. Weeks kind of just trying to follow him up through here.
And you have to imagine that Christian Peterson is racing defensively because he knows that right now he is losing a good chunk of points to Hunter Madalinas. But Madalinas, we expected him to run down the leader, Nathan Jump. Right now, he's got 7 car lengths left to go, and he has Will Barbichelata all over him. So Madalinas not running down the leader like we thought he might. Nathan Jump is starting to drive away.
Yeah, we talked, we can't forget, defending champ of this series obviously didn't make the playoffs, didn't start every race this year, but Nathan Jump is a guy that can win every race he shows up in. So even with maybe just a couple lap tire disadvantage, he's still going to be able to hit some fast laps, and he's been this last lap pretty much even with Madalinas, but the lap before that was 2/10 faster. So yeah, definitely able to get in the clean air and try to drive away. As Weeks is going to try to get around Sims here. He was able to get around Peterson too. Peterson back to the outside.
There's a 2-for-1 on the cards here as Matthew Weeks drives down the inside of Jackson Sims and Christian Peterson. He'll do it again into turn number 1, and Matthew Weeks not able to clear the 6, but he'll drive it back down on exit, searching for as much rear grip as he can as they rocket down the back straightaway. Matthew Weeks, he has the edge on Jackson Sims, and I think he'll have him into turn 3.
Yeah, nice move to basically clear there, and now Peterson's going to be kind of stuck to the inside of Sims and really going to lose the momentum from as Sims gets the outside lane and gets back by him.
The irony there is that was Christian Peterson who originally was trying to make a move on Jackson Sims. He couldn't do it, but Matthew Weeks, he was able to do it no problem. Elliot Henderson sliding out of turn number 1 is going to have Caressel on his inside. You can see the points as they run on the left, and Madalinas has 20 points in hand over Christian Peterson, but Matthew Weeks is maybe in the best spot out of all of them as he's got a couple of points to gain, and he is tied with Christian Peterson. Now he's got the disadvantage by just 1 as Peterson gets his way around Jackson Sims. Baker to the high side on the back.
Yeah, pretty much identical lap times by almost everybody in our top 10 now. It's kind of cycled through single file. We might be able to keep this green for the last 6.5 minutes or so here, so it'll be interesting to see. Jump has been out there for a long time, so even though it's been a lot of time under caution, did he save enough? Was he, pushing in the clutch, maybe turning it off under yellow? Maybe, you got to make sure. This is, this is closing in on 65 laps on the track. I know a lot of it was under caution. But it'll be
it would
really
take 74 laps under green running for Nathan Jump to be able to pull off this win. As we come to the line, we'll pick up 10 to go. In fact, I think we can make it on time if we go green. Behind them, though, what I like about Matthew Weeks is that his tires are 10 laps fresher than Curtis, Barbichelata, and Madalina. So Matthew Weeks, your dark horse for the championship, is starting to reel in his rivals, but he might be running out of time to do it.
I think some of these guys, maybe hoping, it stays green here so you can get a couple positions, and that's definitely Weeks here. It looks like Curtis may have something for Barbichelata too. We're gonna have 3 of these trucks maybe kind of come together here in another lap or so.
The battles are starting to brew as we hit 5 minutes, 30 seconds to go. Madalina's last time by took about 1/10 of a second out of Nathan Jump's lead. Nathan Jump, your defending champion. Madalina's your championship hopeful. They're set to go at it here as the time runs out on the second playoff race at New Hampshire.
Yeah, I think we could maybe switch back to laps here because we're going to maybe get to the end, it looks like, if we keep this green. It'll be interesting to see. As Madalinas was able to run a little bit faster the lap before the Jump. This time about the same.
Michael Senzi's got to move on Robin Durr. That battle is for 14th and the first one on track. Senzi down the inside, going to take that spot away from the 98 truck.
Just kind of changing up his line, trying some different stuff. This time, looks like he's going to maybe gain another 10th on Jump.
He's got 5.8 tenths of a second to make up, but he is running down that 41 truck. The question of fuel back in our minds as well as Jim Duda stacks up in front of the 27 of Barbichelata. That lap truck on the top of your screen might play a factor here in this battle for 4th. It'll close up the gap a little bit between Weeks and Curtis, that's for sure. Now 4 minutes to go.
It'll be interesting to see here as they hit the start-finish line. It looked like Madalinas maybe gained another 10th there. Definitely a 10th faster on the lap time, so if he keeps doing that, he might get there here in these last 5 or so laps.
Curtis took a big swing at third place through 1 and 2, but that hurt him on exit big time. Matthew Weeks has that gap down to just 1 car length as they go into turn number 3. Madalena starting to play around with his line as well. The driver, known for being disciplined and staying with the same line all race, is starting to look for grip and trying to find anything he can to get up to Nathan Jump. 5 laps to go here at New Hampshire.
And if it stays green, you should be able to get to the end here in these final 5 laps. So we'll see what happens. If a caution comes out, it pretty much would probably end it too. So something to think about here if your Madalena's trying to close up on him, because if you wait and you get a caution, it's probably over. You're not going to get a green-white checker to maybe try to steal it.
Henry and Sims are side by side for 8th. Zach Henry, on a recovery drive after having network issues earlier on in the race, has wheeled his way back up into the top 10. He's looking to take that spot away from Sims. These two are both playoff drivers fighting around the second half of the playoff field.
Yeah, I think
Matthew Weeks has a move on. He's going down the inside of Trent Curtis for 4th. He's got fresher tires in hand, but Curtis has the momentum of the high side as we pick up 3 laps to go.
Yeah, Weeks gonna use the Curtis line going down to the apron on Trent Curtis. I think nice recovery by some of these drivers that we talked about. Henry here trying to battle Sims. For being disconnected and having to reconnect multiple laps down to get back up into this top 10 is really impressive.
Yeah, it's been a great drive by Zach Henry, a really commendable effort to stay in this race. Elliot Henderson is back there as well. A lot of playoff drivers trying to keep up and make up every point they can, but they are all losing out to Hunter Madalenas, who, while not winning this race, has stomped the playoff field today. I don't think anyone has really had any answer to him. Christian Peterson looked like he might have at one point, but he got mired in the back due to traffic and strategy. So right now he's in P6. Madalenas is looking to gain even more points, but Nathan Jump is looking to pick up another win. Coming out of turn number 4, we'll pick up the white flag, and Nathan Jump only has to survive 4 more corners to walk away a winner.
And the defending champ had a win earlier in the season, but obviously didn't run the full season this year. But in the last couple laps here, he's been a 10th, maybe 2 tenths even per lap faster than Madalenas. Just a matter of if he's got enough fuel. It looks like he's going to be able to do it and get back to the line.
To the tune of 75 laps in the tank, Nathan Jump is going to walk that truck out of turn number 4 and walk off in New Hampshire. It's win number 2 on the season for your part-time Nathan Jump, who wins at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. 75 laps on fuel. We thought a fuel run was going to be about 60. A truly commendable effort by the 41. Hunter Madalenas comes home in 2nd to lead your playoff drivers. Barbagelata 3rd, Matthew Weeks 4th, and Christian Peterson loses out just a little bit. He'll come home in 6th, and he'll have a little bit of work to do in these last 5 playoff races. But Nathan Jump, a winner once again.
Yeah, we talked about Trent Curtis earlier in the night being a playoff spoiler, but here's Jump, and he's getting some love taps, I guess, from the rest of the field. A lot of damaged trucks in this race, and I guess we'll get a little damage to our winner too. So it was Barbara Gelata to congratulate him. But yeah, it's a playoff spoiler with Nathan Jump. Obviously, last year in the playoff chase was able to take command of that and win the championship. So it's the time of season where he runs good, but obviously not in the chase this year. So just going for the win and was able to do it. So. We'll take a look at the points standings here, and like you said, Madalenas really kind of the winner tonight, able to finish 2nd and try to grow that point lead.
Yeah, I mean, he has just got an incredible ability to close out these races. You can say what you will about his raw pace, which, I mean, from the looks of things in a straight-up fight, I think Peterson could get him. But the thing is, these races aren't playing out like straight-up fights. You've got to know how to close out. You've got to know how to run the strategy. And Hunter Madalenas, is doing a beautiful job of doing that. He's got 19 points in hand as we head into race 3 next week. Looking down the rest of the playoff grid, Matthew Weeks closes up the gap a little bit. His distance to Madalinas is the same as Peterson's. So Weeks, who has not clicked off a win yet this season, could be looking like a decent contender here as we finish out the year. And man, you gotta laugh because Nathan Jump, who ran 75 laps on fuel with a tank that we thought could go 60, has enough for that kind of burnout. I mean, that's impressive. All right, looking down the rest of your playoff field, Elliot Henderson moves his way up into 4th. Zach Henry, great recovery drive, stays in 5th. Shane Nicewanger, P6. Owens, P7. Will Barbagelata, P8. Jackson Sims, P9. And Chris Heller, who missed tonight's race, is your last chase driver.
Yeah, I was just going to say a shout out to Zach Henry, able to get back up into the top 10. And he's 30 points back of the lead, but, I think that's where you need to be. As long as you're, for a guy that got disconnected to still be within a race of our points leader, that's huge. But, yeah, here's your full race result.
Yeah, this race has shown everything. It definitely shows that you got to be resilient. All right, the top 2 finish out just as they started. Nathan Jump wins by 1 second over Hunter Madalinas with 31 laps led on the day. Will Barbagelata comes home in 3rd, Matthew Weeks 4th, and Trent Curtis in one of his first starts in, well, as far as I can remember, he comes home in 5th. Christian Peterson, strong effort, comes home in 6th, 1 spot better than he started, but just not able to get up there at the end of the race. Terrell Baker comes home in 7th. Zach Henry recovers to P8. Jackson Sims P9. And Elliot Henderson, with 21 laps led on the day, brings it home just inside the top 10.
Our 11th place finisher was Nicholas Caressel. The 23 of Spencer Owens in 12th. 49 of Shane Nicewanger. That's 2 back-to-back playoff drivers there, just outside of the top 10. Had some issues at certain times tonight, and obviously tried to get back up there towards the end, but was not able to crack the top 10. The 92 of Michael Senzi was a part of some of the action throughout. Almost everybody has once tonight, so I'm not going to pick on anybody. But the 98 of Robin Durr, the 5 of Brent Kingcott in 16th. We talked about Jared Darling, had that big slide out of the lead, had a big slide multiple times tonight. Was unfortunately not able to get back up into the, up towards the lead in that one truck. Is going to finish 17th. 14th Fitzgerald, the 44 of Durr, and then the 4 of Fosna rounds out the top 20.
And taking a look at 21st through 30th place, Cody Miller comes home 21st, then Evan Snyder, who got a good piece of the action tonight. Jim Duda went a lap down towards the end, followed by Blair Neabone, then Tony Manji, who was putting together a decent race before getting caught up in a couple of incidents. Eric Kepf comes home P26, followed by Hunter Brittle, who was also one of our protagonists tonight. Had a lot of incidents, none of them really his fault, but quite unfortunate there for Hunter Brittle. Preston Henry comes home P28. Aiden Dupont, your namesake for the race sponsor, comes home in P29. And Ashton Lawson, after getting caught up in some incidents earlier on in the race, comes home in 30th. And if we just flick it over one more page, I think we got 1 or 2 trucks left to cover. In P31, it's Jared Duda, who finished 135 laps down. All right, well, that is going to do it for our coverage of the Dupont Handyman Services 170 here in New Hampshire. And Ross, I'm not sure about you, but if I learned anything from tonight's race, it's that in these playoffs, you got to keep your guard up, Not for a moment can you think that you're safe, because we saw nearly every playoff driver get involved in incidents after a decently clean start to the race for them.
Yeah, I'm going to say you're never safe, but you're also never out of it. We saw multiple drivers that, like you said, every playoff driver had a moment tonight, and every one of them had a moment where they got back up there, or were able to recover from it, or at least half recover for some of those guys. So you can't give up, but also you can't expect anything crazy to not happen to you. So it's this was a wild race, and obviously New Hampshire can sometimes bring that out. But it's interesting way to kind of shake up the playoffs without shaking it up, I guess, is the best way I could say it.
Yeah, I guess the more things change, the more things stay the same. Ross, I think if I were to ask you who your championship pick at this point is, it would have to be Hunter Madalinas, but let's say you got to look down the playoff grid and pick somebody else. Who's your dark horse for this Great Lakes Truck Series championship?
Yeah, I think, like you say, Madalinas and Peterson are probably your favorites. I think you were kind of mentioning Matthew Weeks as a dark horse. I really like that too. As long as we have, I believe it's Atlanta next week, and I believe it's the new Atlanta, which is obviously super speedway can have some crazy moments. The recovery tonight by Zach Henry in the 12, that's to stay within a race. If something crazy happens in one of these next upcoming races, he could get back in there, and he's a guy that's fast every week too. So I don't think it's over. I think it's easy for us to look at Madalinas and Peterson, but I think there's more than just the two that could potentially mix it up and get there before we get to the final race at Texas in another month or so.
All right, so you're going Zach Henry. I'm going to stick with my gut. I think Matthew Weeks is, if we're looking for someone to challenge Madalinas, I think Matthew Weeks has a great blend of raw pace, but also racecraft, if you will. The ability to go out here and maximize points. I think Matthew Weeks is who we should be looking at as someone outside those two favorites. All right, well, that is going to do it for our coverage of the Dupont Handyman Services 170. It was a wild race to continue the race for the championship. At the end, it was Nathan Jump who came away with a win, and Hunter Madalinas who survived the chaos to lead home your playoff drivers. Ross, any final thoughts?
Thanks for having me tonight, and we'll chat next week.
Yeah, definitely a fun race. We will see you all next week here, same time, not same place. We'll be at a different track. All right, everybody, for Split Second Broadcasting, I have been Jonathan Oates, joined by Ross Brockman, and a special shout out to our producer, Jeff Johnson. We will see you all next week.